Hi, this is Stacy Sanchez from Heart Prince of God. And you know, several years ago, God just spoke a phrase to my heart. He kept speaking it over and over and over again. And I finally put pen to paper and wrote those words down. And I want to share them again with you today because they are such powerful truth to hold on to. The words go like this. Just because you aren't able to see God moving in your situation, don't assume He isn't. God is always at work in our lives. Your inability to discern it has nothing to do with His ability to do it. How often do we feel as though God is doing nothing in our situation? We look out and we see a pasture where seeds have been planted, but we see no signs of new life sprouting up. You know, we know that we've sown and we've planted, we know that we've prayed and we've asked, and yet it seems like day after day after day, nothing is happening, that God isn't moving, that our prayers aren't being heard, that God is not taking any action. I want to remind you today, your inability to discern what God is doing has nothing to do with His ability to do it. And I want to give you an example of that from my personal life. Several years ago, back in 2002, I guess it was now, my father had gotten very sick, and I had wanted to be with him, but I also wanted to be with my, husband down where we lived. And so I was praying for God what to do, and I just felt in my heart that God was calling me to move in with my parents and to help take care of my father. That was my story. Another part of this story is a dear friend of mine who found herself suddenly without a husband. Her husband just woke up one morning, said, "I don't want to be married to you anymore," and walked out the door. She had 3 young children, didn't know what to do. She loaded everything into a moving truck, and she just started driving east. They lived in California. She just started driving. Okay, that's my story. That's her story. And this is a story of how God works all things for good, even when we can't see how things are going to work out. We were both teachers, me and this other girl that I'm telling you about. And when we both decided, she to just pack up the moving van and me to try to move back in with my father, it was the end of July, 1st of August, right in that time frame. Most people know that schools have already hired their staff by that time. They're already gearing up for the school year. They're ready to go. Neither one of us had a job. Okay, so add to this story a little Christian school in the town by where my parents live. This school was just starting out. These Christian people had built a brand new school building. They knew that God had put on their hearts to have a Christian school to offer to the community. And as it came time to start interviewing for teachers, they interviewed teacher after teacher after teacher. And as they started interviewing in April and May, as they sat down and did interviews with different people, everybody that they interviewed, they just felt in their heart like, nope, that's not the one. Nope, that's not the one. Meanwhile, time was ticking. Weeks were going by. They were flipping new pages on the calendar, heading into new months. School was fastly approaching. They kept interviewing, and they kept feeling in their heart, nope, this isn't the one. This isn't the one. Well, I come on the scene the end of July, wanting to move back in with my parents, finding out this school has an opening. I go, sit down for the interview, and was hired that night. They're like, you're the one. You're the one we're looking for. We just need one more. Back to my friend who had loaded the moving van and was heading this direction, only she wasn't my friend at that time. I didn't know her from anybody else. She was driving. She got to this town where my parents lived. She ran out of money, ran out of gas, didn't know what else to do, looked in the paper, this Christian school was hiring. She went for the interview, and the board's like, that's the one. And I say all of that to tell you this. I didn't know I was going to need a job in August, but God did. She didn't know where she was going to end up or where He would have a place for her to be, but God did. That school board didn't understand why teacher after teacher who were very worthy candidates, who were very qualified to fill those positions, why week after week of interviewing, they kept hearing God say, no, no, not the one, not the one. But God did. And in His timing and in His sovereignty, He brought all of those pieces of that puzzle, my life, my colleague's life and the school's all together to do what he wanted to do. They hired me, they hired this other girl, and together we completed each other. Where I was weak, she was strong. Where she was weak, I was strong. And God did amazing things in that school that year and in years following that. It was all God's timing. I was able to be with my dad. She was able to set down roots and start building her family here in this community. And it was just amazing to see God bring all those pieces together when at the time it seemed like in my life God wasn't doing anything. In her life it was falling apart. And in this school board's viewpoint, they were just wasting time. But no, God's hand was in all of it. So I just want to remind you again, just because you can't see what God's doing, when you don't understand his plan, when it seems like it's not going the way it should be going at all, we can trust that with God, it's exactly as it should be. It's in the right time. It's going to work out the right way. He is orchestrating so many different pieces to all fit together in the most amazing way. Our job is simply to trust him, to just follow him, to know that he's going to do it. Just because we can't discern what he's doing, it in no way affects his ability to do it. So today, if it seems like there's nothing sprouting in your field of seeds sown, if it seems like God is still and he's quiet, if it seems like nothing at all is happening, you can be sure that behind the scenes where you cannot see, God is at work, and in the right time and in the right way, it will all come together. And when it does, it will be as God would have it to be. We just simply need to trust him. We just need to trust him. So again, the words that God gave me many years ago that I want to remind you of today. Just because you aren't able to see God moving in your situation, don't assume he isn't. God is always at work in our lives. Your inability to discern it has nothing to do with his ability to do it. God is at work. God will do it. We simply need to trust him and let him work. All right, keep looking for those heart prints and have a beautiful, blessed day.